You're mixing the principle that people are talking about. It's ethics. The man told Mike Pence not to certify the election. The man called the Secretary of State, or was it governor? I forget, and asked for 11,072 votes. The man has stolen from more hardworking Americans.
You were against Trump in 2016, though. You were against Trump in 2016.
Right, but he was unethical then, and he's still unethical.
And
Vivek Ramaswamy had Mark Cuban as a guest on his podcast, YouTube show, whatever it is. And they talked for over an hour. It's an interesting interview and debate if you want to check out the whole thing on Vivek Ramaswamy's YouTube channel. But towards the end, they didn't really talk about politics the whole time. And Donald Trump, who Vivek Ramaswamy is a massive MAGA Trump supporter. But towards the end, for a few minutes, they talked about Donald Trump. And Mark Cuban gave his reasons to Vivek Ramaswamy as to why he cannot support Donald Trump. So we're going to take a look at a couple of clips from this. And then also I'll interject with my own thoughts from here and there. So let's check this out.
So now you get a candidate, and here's the thing that most people don't realize, who's actually not an ideologue, certainly on historical Republican terms at all. Not an ideologue at all in any sense, actually, who on abortion is against a federal ban on abortion, is a little bit more pragmatic, you could say, is in certain other issues. On gun control is softer than some Second Amendment advocates, even myself in many cases, would advocate for. You have a foreign policy that is against fighting pointless foreign wars or intervention. A Republican who's publicly against that old Iraq war. And yet now the criticism of that candidate is that, he's not principled enough, right? So from the Democrats.
Well, yeah, let's talk about that. No. You're mixing the principle that people are talking about. It's ethics. The man told Mike Pence not to certify the election. The man called the Secretary of State, or was it governor? I forget, and asked for 11,072 votes. The man has stolen from more hardworking Americans.
You were against Trump in 2016, though. You were against Trump in 2016.
Right, but he was unethical then, and he's still unethical.
And in 20, right?
That's right, but that's the whole point. I actually started off supporting Donald, and then I got to know him better.
When did you support him?
Like 2015, I was like, he's great. He's he's not a typical Stepford candidate. I thought that was a positive.
I would think that's a positive, right? A business guy who's pretty practical.
But then I got to know
not
him.
Ideological.
A big part of that is I didn't think he had a chance, and so I just wanted to kind of screw things up in traditional politics that I'm not a fan of.
Okay,
but the bigger
supportive. Okay, that's kind of funny.
Right. But the bigger point is Trump University, Trump Soho, stole $4 million from a friend of mine that had sued to get it back. Mike Pence.
And this is a great point that he's making here about all the people around Trump who do not support him anymore. And with Vivek Ramaswamy, these MAGA supporters, they have to twist themselves into knots and logic pretzels to defend the things that he's done. Vivek Ramaswamy went on the Young Turks show with Anna Kasparian and Cenk Uygur. Also, I have clips of that on my channel, and they talk about the fake electors scheme and the documents that Trump took and wouldn't give back. And Vivek Ramaswamy has to twist himself into knots to try to defend that when there's no defense. If Joe Biden had done, or Hillary Clinton had tried to have fake electors or tried to, put pressure on a governor or a secretary of state to come up with votes for her to win an election, man, what would the Republicans be saying? I mean, it would just be insane, the reaction that they would have had to it. But since it's their God King, Donald Trump, they view it as perfectly fine.
I get that. But you know what? The one certainty about the office of the President of the United States is the complete uncertainty, that you have no idea what comes next. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Okay. And so in my mind, and I think a lot of people's minds that oppose Donald Trump, is that you want somebody there that is educated on the world but more importantly, just is ethical, right? So that they make ethical decisions. You want somebody when there is no precedent, it's never happened before. You want somebody that has hired not people who are most loyal, like Tony Soprano might have done, but hired the very best people. And those people want to stay and work for them, not that they're loyal. You want somebody whose first inclination is not to do what's in their own best personal interest.
And I think another great point that Mark Cuban brings up here with Vivek Ramaswamy is about hiring the best people. This is also something that I don't think gets talked about enough, is Donald Trump always says he hires the best people, and he had massive turnover in his term. And what did he always do? He would fire the people or they would leave. And then on their way out the door, he would talk about how terrible they were and how stupid they were and all of that. Well, to me, this is something that I never understood, and I've talked about this myself with MAGA people that I know personally, is, here and there you're going to have people that you would hire who it wouldn't work out for whatever reason, or you think somebody's going to be great and you make a mistake, they're not great. But when person after person that Trump hires and then fires, or they quit or they leave, and then he says how terrible they are and a loser and all of that, well, that's a reflection on the person doing the hiring. To me, that shows poor judgment on Donald Trump's part. If everybody, and these people, they weren't all losers and idiots and whatever else Trump called them, but if everybody that he hires is terrible, then he's the problem. And what the reality of it is, the decent people that he did hire didn't stick around. And then at the end of his term, he was just left with these loyalists who were, people like Rudy Giuliani, who were completely inept. And Vivek Ramaswamy's response to Mark Cuban on that is Donald Trump a perfect person? Well, nobody's perfect, obviously. No president is perfect. But we have someone who is unquestionably corrupt. Everybody except the MAGA fan base, the people that view Donald Trump as their God King, or the grifters like Vivek Ramaswamy, understand that this guy is completely corrupt. He has no principles. He has no morals. He'll sell anybody out and throw anybody under the bus. And of course, then on the flip side, we have the fact that if anybody says anything nice about him, then they can control him. And that's very dangerous when you have people like Vladimir Putin who understand this. Oh, the way to get to Donald Trump is to flatter him. And then Vladimir Putin has Trump in the palm of his hand. So Vivek Ramaswamy, he's just a MAGA grifter. So there's really nothing valid that he's going to say, in my opinion, in defense of Donald Trump. He's going to gloss over all of the crimes, all of the corruption, all of the lack of ethics that Mark Cuban is bringing up here. And it's not like Trump has any real policies that appeal to the American people. Vivek Ramaswamy talks about that Trump doesn't want a national abortion ban. Oh, they just overturned Roe v. Wade and it's going back to the states. The Republican Party wants a national abortion ban. But what do you think? What do you think about this debate in particular? Did Mark Cuban get the better of Vivek Ramaswamy, or do you agree with Vivek Ramaswamy here? Is Mark Cuban right that Donald Trump is completely unethical and the fact that he tried to overturn an election should discredit him from ever being able to be president again? Or is Vivek Ramaswamy right that none of that really matters? Make sure to comment on this video. It helps my channel to grow. The channel's growing quickly, but I want it to continue to grow more. Your likes and subscribes help that as well. It helps me to make and create more content. This is Chris on Culture. I will see you in the next video.